Welcome. We'll get started shortly. Before we begin, here's how to earn continuing professional education credit for attending this session. There are no polling questions or attendance checks. Instead, you will demonstrate your knowledge by taking a brief multiple-choice quiz using the Earmark app. Visit earmark.app in your web browser. You can also download the mobile app by scanning the QR code on the screen. Log in, or if you're new, create your free account. Be sure to use a valid email address because that's where we'll send your course completion certificates. From the home screen, scroll down to find the course. You can also tap the magnifying glass icon to search for the course. Tap on the course artwork, then the Enroll button. On the Course tab, you'll find the recording and quiz questions. Complete the quiz to earn your CPE certificate. It takes us a few days to create the course on the app, so if you are attending this session live, please wait a few days. We'll email you a link to the course when it is ready. If you have questions or need help, email us at support@earmarkcpe.com. And now, on to the event. Buckle up, accountants. It's time for another Earmark Expo, where we are taking the latest accounting tech for a test drive. I'm Blake Oliver, joined as always by my co-host, David Leary. How you doing, David?
Good.
Here's how this works. We're going to floor it with a live demo of a game-changing app. David and I are in the driver's seat, putting this app through its paces and asking the tough questions every accountant wants to know the answers to. And guess what? You're along for the ride. We want you, our live audience, to help us navigate. Ask your own questions in the chat, and we will highlight them for Andy to answer. This is your chance to see cutting-edge accounting tech in action, get your questions answered in real time, and gain insights that could transform your practice. So take a seat and let's roll with today's Earmark Expo.
So about 5 years ago, Blake, this might have been the first conference I went to when I was at Melio. It was the first conference season was starting up. It was a really early conference. And it was I attended the bookkeepers.com conference. It might have been called BKX. Nobody fact check me on these things. But over in a little table in the corner was this little teeny app I've never seen before. And that app was Keeper. So I met the co-founder, Ben Stein. And what I found interesting about Ben, that he's creating an app for bookkeepers and accountants. But he didn't come from that point of view where I ran a firm, I built this, now everyone should use what I built to run their firm. He didn't really come from that point of view. Instead, he was just attempting to solve his own pain of closing the books when he was a CFO at a company. And somehow it quickly became an app for bookkeepers to close the books. So 5 years later, I'm just excited to see how Keeper has come from an app to close the books to really now it's a full-fledged practice management app, arguably.
Yeah. And I love that approach, taking it from the closing the books side of things and building practice management from that perspective, because it seems like a lot of apps come from the other point of view, which is let's do task management, let's do project management. And that is important, but there's all of these like very nuanced things that need to happen when you are closing the books that then kind of get left out or sort of added on after the fact. And it seems like Keeper comes from the other perspective. And so I think that's why
the ultimate goal, right? Is you want to close your client's books.
That's right.
As fast as possible, right?
Right. It's not about checking off tasks. It's about let's get the books closed and let's deliver the financials. So I'm really eager to see a demo of Keeper because I've heard so many great things about it over the years. I may have seen something very early on, but it's been a while. So really happy to have Andy from Keeper joining us to talk about Keeper and show us what's new. So Andy, welcome.
Thanks, Blake. David, appreciate y'all inviting me today to show you Keeper. Excited to give you the full tour.
We're eager to dive into it with you, but first, I'd love to get your take on our opening here. Did we get it right? Is that the Keeper perspective on practice management, or is there give it to us from the Keeper point of view?
Yeah, I think David hit the nail on the head. Ben was a CFO in his past life and built Keeper to solve for his own challenges with the month end. He found himself juggling a lot of different disconnected tools, emails, spreadsheets to kind of cobble together his process for the month end. And so he thought, why not build a tool to help myself and the millions of other firms that are out there trying to close their books. So that's really kind of like the why behind Keeper, which is to bring as much of that monthly recurring bookkeeping onto one piece of software to close your books faster than ever.
So what kind of firms are using Keeper? Who is it a really good fit for?
Yeah, it's a great fit for outsourced accounting teams, accounting firms doing client advisory services, managing QuickBooks Online clients specifically. We also support an integration with Xero, but QuickBooks Online is probably our most common use case.
So if I'm a firm, in many cases, if I'm using QuickBooks Online Accountants Edition to manage my clients and I get 2 clients on Xero, now what? I could use you to manage my clients regardless of on QuickBooks or Xero.
Exactly. Yeah. So you can manage both all in one place. And we're expanding kind of the breadth of integrations to Sage Intact, kind of on in the red zone, kind of putting the finishing touches on that integration, and also going to be supporting other cloud ERPs like NetSuite, things like that down the road.
All right. Well, let's take a look. I'm really eager to see it. Where do we start?
Yeah. So I guess before we jump in, did kind of want to give like a high level, like this is, I guess to dive a bit more into like the goal behind Keeper, to bring as much of that monthly recurring bookkeeping onto one tool. So we accomplish this through 5 main ways, which I'll highlight in detail during the demonstration. So first, task and project management that is bespoke to bookkeeping and accounting. There's thousands of task management solutions out there, but very few that are very bespoke to bookkeeping and accounting, particularly around the month-end close. So that's kind of like first and foremost. The second is the connection to the general ledger. So Keeper has file review tools built into the solution that is going to automatically analyze your client's ledger and proactively highlight inconsistencies, things we might have missed during our initial review. And so we can make corrections in Keeper that instantly update back in the general ledger in QuickBooks and in Xero. Keeper also has a client communications component, so we can get feedback on those uncategorized expenses and even automate requests for statements, payroll, tax documents, anything that we need to request from our clients, and even set up automated reminders so we can stay on top of them in case they forget to respond to us. Keeper also helps with 1099 preparation. We're going to proactively highlight vendors that exceed the year-to-date threshold for qualified spend, and can reach out to our clients and vendors to request that information. And then Keeper lastly has a financial reporting tool to generate a custom reporting package for the client at the end of the month that's loaded with summaries, KPIs, graphs, to make those reports at the end of the month a little bit more actionable for our clients. So
I love that. I love that Keeper looks at the GL and then analyzes it and highlights the issues, because that was always my biggest challenge as my firm grew. Was I'm handing off this work to other bookkeepers, other accountants. It's not me closing the books anymore, but I still have to maintain quality as the firm owner and as the client relationship manager. And so it became difficult for me to know if everything was being done properly. If I'm just looking at people checking off tasks, I don't know if the books are actually tied out properly. And sometimes, embarrassingly, I would be having a client meeting and I'd notice there's an issue with the financials that I didn't catch before. And then I'd have to explain that, I'd, apologize for it, maybe hope they don't notice, fix it next time, right? That is something that I'm eager to see, because it was a big pain point for me. And then pushing those changes back into the GL, I'm really curious to know what kind of adjustments we can make in Keeper and not have to go into the accounting file to do that, because that was also a big time suck for me, was having to go into every file and review it. But being able to do that in Keeper seems like it would save a lot of time.
Yep.
Should we jump in?
Let's do it.
And we'll need to get your screen share going again, Andy. It looks like that may have disconnected here.
Oh, okay. Stop. Present.
So just go ahead and hit that present button and share the appropriate window. And I want to welcome our live attendees today. Thanks for joining us. Feel free to ask your questions as we go. Like I said at the beginning, we want to, drive where you want to go as well. So let us know what you want to see if you have any follow-up questions for Andy as he demonstrates Keeper.
Drop a thumbs emoji if you're thinking about trying Keeper, and maybe a heart if you use Keeper. Get a little creative here.
Alrighty. David, we all good? I think I did the screen
there we
share.
go.
Perfect.
Sorry, that might have been my fault. I had to scroll down to see the screen share there. So we got it on the screen now.
Alrighty. Great. Well, what we're looking at here, this is what we call the client close page. So we're looking specifically at one of our clients, 1801 Brands, and we're looking at their October 2024 close. So all the work we're going to do for this client is going to live on this page. It's where we're going to manage the communication between our team and the client, manage documents the client shares with us. We can track vendor requests for W-9s. And then we have two different sections where we're going to manage the tasks we're doing for this client. So we separate these between our closing and our non-closing tasks, because this closing section is our entire closing process, and it's going to repeat every single month when I start my next close or if I create any previous closes. So this is going to repeat every single month. This non-closing section, this is for everything else that I'm doing for my client. So initially we'll have this one section for any general miscellaneous type work, but this is a very flexible tool, and you can create your own sections by service or maybe the frequency at which you're doing tasks. So here I have some custom sections built out for all my payroll, all my sales tax, my year-end closing work, maybe my client onboarding work. So just kind of have everything in one place.
So for payroll, I could have a different cycle for payroll than I do for the month-end close.
Yeah, exactly. So these tasks in this section, they can be one-off. They can also be recurring on a weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, quarterly type basis. So yeah, you can customize exactly how and when those need to repeat.
Now, is there any chance some tasks could be both? I'm thinking like payroll, like every 3 months, you kind of have to close it. Run your 941, depending on if you're using a payroll service or not, but at times you have to close out your payroll stuff. Is that something that can it live in two places? Do you just duplicate it? How does that work?
Yeah, good question. In that case, we'd probably just create a separate task. So if we have like a bi-weekly payroll task, but we also want something that's done, like a quarterly closeout.
So like I'm gonna post my adjusting entry into the GL, and I'm gonna do it every 3 months. I could create a task for that instead of doing it every month. But if I wanted to do it with every close, I could make that part of the close tasks.
Yeah, if it's a closing item, we would just add it to a part of this closing area. So we could add an additional section here that's like additional items. So as I mentioned, very flexible, and we can add additional sections here. So,
and I guess that might go in the that adjusting entry might go. Would that go in the account reconciliation section that we're looking at on the previous page? Or oh, I see. It's all completely customizable there. So you created an account reconciliation. What do you mind clicking into that? I'm just curious. Is there anything in the account reconciliation? Okay.
Yeah. So this section, I actually created a new close. So maybe these balances aren't pulling in yet. But yeah, this section is going to pull in all of the credit card and checking accounts from QuickBooks into this list. We'll also pull in when the date of the last reconciled transaction and the balance at the end of the month.
Got it.
So this all gets
I know I'm
pulled in
jumping
from
ahead.
QuickBooks. Yeah, no, you're
I'm jumping ahead, but I really wanted to see that, because that to me is like, this is what is saving me from having to go into QuickBooks to see the account balances and to know that it's reconciled. Okay. If you want to go back, feel free to do that. I jumped ahead.
No worries. No worries. So yeah, as you have kind of pressure test, like it's a very flexible tool. So you can manipulate Keeper to fit your process, how you want to organize things. So yeah, the task management, very intuitive, also very familiar to other task management tools like ClickUp or Asana. It's done intentionally so that there's like a low barrier to entry here. So when we're creating new tasks, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I'm just looking at it right now. Like this is the first time I've seen this version of it. So we've got the title, the description. You can have a sub checklist.
Yeah.
I noticed over on we have assignments. Over on the far right, we have statuses like not started, stuck. I like that. And I assume we can, filter for tasks that are like based on due date and status and all that. This is sort of like, bread and butter project management, task management type of stuff here.
And it looks like you have tags as well. Is that like truly like a free form tags field people can use for whatever need they have, or do you have predetermined tags?
We have some, just like the statuses, we have some default tags, but yeah, you can come in and add your own. So it is like, free form. You see I added like ABC to kind of show that off.
Got it. Okay, please continue.
Yeah. So for these tasks, as you called out, give them names, descriptions. So here we can include website links, direct the team exactly where we need them to go. We can add checklists to document important information on how to complete this task. So login and password, if we want to save that here, steps involved to complete this task. We can add as many checklists as we want, add as much information within each step as we need to. Can assign this to our team, can also reassign work really easily. So can select a different team member to be assigned. That way they have all of this information at their fingertips on what to do. So helpful to have that process kind of built out. But if SOPs are already created, you have them in a Google Doc or a Google Sheet or something, and you want to include that link, you can just add those SOPs right here. Due dates, so we can set a due date. When we just select that, it's a one-off task, but if we want to make this repeat, we can select how customized the frequency that we want to customize this. So it can be a weekly task that's done on Fridays. Ooh, that's the wrong day. Bi-weekly, can be monthly, quarterly, on a very specific day of the month, business day, like the third Friday. So it can get very specific with how and when we need these to repeat. And we can even collaborate on the tasks themselves. So I can, maybe mention my team members and ask them like, can someone complete this? So I can send Jim and Michael a message. They'll see that my message was tagged to the task that I just created. So we're all on the same page with what this message was about. It's like connected to the work that's happening. And they'll also get notified in their Keeper inbox as well as their email that they're mentioned on a specific task.
And I think I saw when you opened up the comments that these comments have a status, open. So when I like this because I might make a comment, I need to know that somebody saw it, did something about it. They can mark it as closed when it's done.
Yeah, exactly. So when this gets resolved, we can kind of close the loop on this back and forth. And we'll still have an audit trail of everything that has been completed, so we can see like all of the resolved issues going back, days, weeks, months, years. They have a big audit trail of that. Team can search for things as well. So if instead of bugging each other, they can just look and see if this came up in the past. So they can kind of be proactive about resolving things. The task management's pretty intuitive. These tags are used to organize tasks across clients. So that way we can filter for those tags and look for all of the tax work across our clients. So kind of an organization tool there. Can also just click here, jump and see all the tax work.
You can see that could be really helpful for payroll on these weeks when the holidays hit. You need to go find all those tasks and probably move them a day earlier because of bank closures, things like that. Makes a lot of sense. Yeah. We did get a question come in regarding the workflows. You're showing us how to customize them, but people are asking if you have any recommended workflow templates.
Yeah, good question. So we do have some templates that come out of the box with Keeper. We have like an onboarding template. We have a default task template. So this is like what Keeper is going to look like as soon as your account gets created. You'll have like an empty general pre-close section. As I mentioned, the credit card and checking accounts get pulled in from QuickBooks. I haven't gotten here quite yet, but these review tools and reports are all going to come pre-built with your account. Then we also have what we call the community task templates. So these are templates that firms who use Keeper have published for our community. So you can access kind of best practices from across the Keeper universe. So you can search for different like categories, find things that other people have built, and kind of take what they've built, kind of add your own flair to it. But yeah, you can create your own templates. I have a couple out
And
of the
how's
box as well.
some of when the community templates, how detailed do they go? Are people creating very specific ones like here's a template if you use ADP, or here's a template if you use OnPay, or here's a payroll template if you use Gusto? Like how deep do they go on these, or is it just a high level payroll template?
Yeah, so I mean, there's like a title for like what this is, the template's called, and then some details on exactly what it is. I think more detailed. And then you can see like the exact tasks they have if you want to copy this, so you have it in your arsenal. You can click that.
So from a starting point, jump in, use either the templates Keeper provided, or go get some of these community templates and start going from there when you're on board. Makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. These, the project task management, not super novel. Where Keeper really shines are these 4 sections here. So this is where like the integration with QuickBooks comes in. But to start, this is the initial like checklist items that we need to do to start the month end. So we can document, what those things are. This is also something that we can template. So I think I have a pre-close template built out. So if there's some consistent things I'm doing for all of my clients, I can apply that template in bulk, and then maybe add in some client-specific information here, like website links, logins. But I can complete like the bulk setup with just a couple clicks. So these are kind of the things I need to do to start my month end. These tasks are going to repeat every single month based on this due date that I set up. So I can say this is due on a specific business day every month. Can bulk, set due dates for this whole section, bulk assign work to my team or reassign work if we need to. Once we've completed the pre-close work, this is where the connection with QuickBooks begins. So we can pull in all of these credit card and checking accounts into this list. We can also add any additional accounts like mortgages, loans, prepaids, anything from QuickBooks we want to add and track here.
Now, do you also have connections directly to the bank accounts, like through Plaid or something like that? So I'm seeing my QuickBooks balance and the bank account balance.
So we don't. Keeper just connects to the general ledger.
General ledger, got it.
And then what accounts can I connect to in this account reconciliation section? Is it just balance sheet accounts? Is it any account in the GL?
Yeah, it's any accounts you can select.
Okay, great. I see that. I see bank, fixed asset, equity, income. Cool.
Something that we've released maybe in like the past 7 or 8 months is a intercompany transfers feature. So if 1801 Brands has multiple entities, we can connect those entities. So we can select those other QuickBooks files and then pull in the due to and due from accounts into this list. And so we'll also pull in the balances for those accounts. If those things aren't tying out, we can create transfers from here that'll create a transfer back in QuickBooks. So helpful for firms that have multiple entities where those start to become difficult to manage.
And that's a pretty big closing task, right? Moving that money between entities at the end of each quarter, reallocating expenses, etc.
Just tying out those intercompanies can be quite a task.
Yeah. So we make that pretty easy. once we've completed the reconciliation, and just to like close the loop on this section, the reconciliation actually still takes place in QuickBooks. This is really like a checklist for the team to make sure that they're completing what they need to do, and also for leadership to track at a high level on our homepage, where we can see all of our clients from one list and see the progress for each of these sections here by client.
So tell me this, like I'm reviewing this. Let's say I'm looking at this from a reviewer standpoint. When I go into that account reconciliation list, what do I see that lets me know that an account is reconciled? Because I see the balance at the end of the month. I can see last reconciled transaction. I assume that'll fill in with a date.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
How do I know that this is reconciled?
Yep. So kind of the workflow there is like, once we've completed that in QuickBooks, just click back to Keeper, check that box. That lets everyone know that, hey, this has been completed.
Okay.
And on these accounts, you can also add checklists. So if we did want to just make it simple, add the link to QuickBooks, click a button, jump over there.
Oh, you open that up. What was that I saw below? So if you open this up here, I see now there's these transactions down below with dates, vendors, descriptions. What's that?
Yep. So these are all of the transactions in these accounts, or in this specific account.
Okay, so you're pulling in all the transactions. Is it for
and then
this
showing the
checking
cleared
account?
status? Yeah.
I see.
Yep.
So I can go and I can edit these transactions, and then what happens?
Yeah, we can. It's best to do that in this review section, because this is where Keeper is going to proactively highlight things for you to review. Instead of sifting through like hundreds, thousands of transactions, we can actually just highlight the things that need to be reviewed. So Keeper going to analyze your client's ledger and highlight things like inconsistencies. So this report, for example, is going to show you vendors that have historically been coded to one account, but then get coded to a different one. We'll catch that as an inconsistency and show you why we caught this. So for example, OpenAI coded to advertising. We flagged this because it looks like we've always coded this to software. So we're showing you like, hey, looks like we might have made a mistake. These are some of the historical examples. If we need to make a change, we can correct this here, and it instantly updates this back in QuickBooks. So you see it turn green, it says transaction saved. That means this is saved in QBO. As you can see, it's not like
the time savings on that. The clicking is amazing.
Yeah, and that's what I would have to do is I'd have to like open up the GL detail and like filter and sort and basically do what you're doing manually, and I'd have to try to find all the inconsistent transactions.
Yeah.
What other kinds of you said, so we're looking at expense inconsistency. What other kinds of flags do you have?
Yep. So we catch things without a payee. A big report of all of these. So we can come in here, update these vendors. Or
so these ones have been coded. They've been coded to an expense account, but they don't have a vendor associated with them.
Yep. So we can update these. We can create new vendors here. Check off the 1099 box if we're going to need to collect one for this vendor, but probably not for Home Depot. We can update these things in bulk, so we can sort, filter these different fields here. I can highlight all of the transactions coded to Home Depot, or have a description with Home Depot, and then I can add the vendor in bulk, create a new vendor in bulk. I can also clean up descriptions, move payment accounts, update categories, locations, classes, customers. You can do all of this batch updating across all of these different like tracking categories.
This is music to my ears. All right, let's keep going. Transactions without payees. What's next?
Yeah. Uncategorized transactions. So what we'll do here, we'll pull in these suspense accounts. So just click in this box, select the different accounts. That'll add all of the transactions into this list. I can make my screen a little bigger here. We'll see on the far right side of every transaction, there's a field for Ask Client. And so here we can reach out to our client by typing out a question or using a template. And so we can send a message over to my client, request some feedback on this transaction. We have different templates pre-built for the different reports so that you can come into these reports, select all these transactions, add your question, and move on with your review. So quickly go through those things you need to request to the client. So how this is going to work, rather than sending the client 40 messages throughout the month, we're going to wait until all of our questions are ready for the client to then let them know they have new questions. That way we're just sending them one message once everything is there, make it as easy as possible for the client to help us out with those things. So whenever I add questions to my client portal, I'm not going to email them. So I'll go through all of these reports and ask all of my questions, and then I'll message my client to let them know that they have questions in their portal. So click that button.
Do you find that small business owners or your clients are you're getting a higher success rate of them completing these open questions versus contacting them 40 times separately during the month?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's just people get worn down with all the constant questions, and also the way we present the questions is a little easier than some big spreadsheet that then causes even more problems, because then we got like 40 spreadsheets we're managing and we don't know which version's the most accurate. So the way this works in Keeper is we'll send the client a message saying, hey, got new questions for you in the portal. And then we're always going to include a link that takes the client directly to their client portal. So your client already has this link. We recommend they bookmark it so they can come whenever they want. All they have to do, click this button, and they're taken right to their client portal. So bypass a login, don't have to remember usernames and passwords, just get taken right here where they're going to see your logo, your company name will match like the color scheme and branding to your firm.
Hey, Andy, can you zoom in?
Link.
Can you zoom in just once on this?
Make your screen a little narrower so that we can see it.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
that's a little bit better.
How's that?
That's better. Thanks.
Yeah.
So, okay, so this is what the client sees. And
this is what the client sees.
I can just drop files on the top to upload them. I've got action required, transaction questions, non-transaction questions. What happens if I click on transaction questions?
Yep. So we'll go right to the list of all the transactions I have questions about.
Beautiful. And then I can just type in my answer.
Yeah, just type in your answer. Yes, sir. So
and
the client's going to see all the. Yeah, can upload a receipt. Yeah, the client will see all the details about the transactions: date, description, vendor, what credit card account this was from, amount. They'll even see an attachment or a receipt from QuickBooks if it lives there. So some of these, I guess, don't have attachments. Yeah, all the client has to do is
log in. Did the client have to log in, or does that link just work magically?
Yeah, so it's a Google Magic link. So all the client has to do is click that button, and they're taken right here.
Great.
Yeah.
No passwords to remember. That's a win.
Yeah. As you called out, all they have to do is type out what this was for, send that feedback over to us. So that'll remove this from their to-do list, move it into the answer column, and once we've completed the review and resolved that issue, that will move that transaction to resolved for the client, so they know that the loop's been closed on that. So your team will see like, oh, it looks like we've got 3 responses from the client. We'll see a list of those responses. We can see the back and forth that we've had with the client. Looks like we asked them, what was that for? They let us know it was for advertising. If we do have any follow-up questions, we can send this back over to the client. So we're going to have like a dialogue on this transaction. So back and forth right here. Once we're ready to update this, just simply do what we did earlier and just take this feedback, update the category, and it's going to instantly change that in QuickBooks.
So really,
once we're done, can just
brought 2 tools in one spot. So I I could have this email in my email inbox as a thread. I still have to open up QuickBooks to go actually make the change. I'm just doing it all on basically one row inside of Keeper now.
Yep. Yeah, good call. We also have non-transaction questions. Anything else we need to request from the client, like taxes, bank statements, payroll, anything else we need to request. We can send these over to the client and respond, upload a document. These questions can be one-offs as things come up. We need to request things from the client. We can also set up reoccurring questions. So if we need to request bank statements every month, payroll every week, 2 weeks, every quarter, whenever things we need to request from them, we can set those up just like
That's
we
great.
did those tasks. Yeah. Customize that nicely.
We also got another question here coming in specifically about, I noticed in the example you showed us, the client just typed the word advertising. But the question is, does the client choose the category or account from the QBO chart of accounts? Can they actually choose it?
Nope, it's just like a free form text. So, they'll just
they don't actually edit the transactions. You just get a message back. Then you do on your close process. Your team does that work still.
Right. Yeah. That way we have a little check and balance on the client, so they're not making lots of changes to QuickBooks without our kind of review of it.
All right. What else do we need to see? I know we had a question in the chat about time tracking. What else is important in the time we've got? Because I know it seems like we could go for hours looking through this.
Yeah. Well, I guess to kind of like wrap up this review, we have a couple other reports that are pretty useful. These highlight any missing attachments. We can set dollar thresholds here, so we're just catching the things the IRS is going to want a receipt for. Can reach out to the client, request that. We can also set dollar thresholds here to catch maybe potential fixed assets. So I can set this threshold to whatever limit we want to set here. Whenever we change that, changes the name of the report and then the threshold that we're highlighting. Catch things just coded to a parent account. So useful here. Have a big list of all of these, and then we can come in, split these, add line items right from here. Really helpful to have a list of all of those. We'll catch inconsistencies for classes. So just like the expense inconsistency, this report works the same way, but just looking at class. For missing location, class, or customer, we'll catch these. Transactions auto-added by bank rule. So QuickBooks isn't always 100% perfect. Just want to double check, make sure that those rules run correctly. So we can double check those here. And these reports that I'm checking off are reports that I've built. So you can create your own review tools to highlight things and review each month. So if we want to catch all the office supplies over $2,000, review those. Sky's the limit with the reports that we want to create. So can filter for things, add accounts, set an amount greater than or equal to $2,000. And now this becomes part of the monthly review. Each month I'm going to review those specific transactions.
So in the close process, I reconcile the accounts, I go through all the anomalies, and then what's next after we go through all the anomalies?
Yeah, so we then have a pay entity review, go through any newly added customers, accounts, vendors, catch any duplicates. We also have a 1099 preparation tool. Maybe don't have to do it every month, but really helpful to stay on top of these throughout the year versus kind of letting these pile up to December and January. So this report's going to highlight all the vendors that have met the $600 threshold in year-to-date spend. And so this calculation is automatically excluding credit card and debit card spend, as well as anything that wouldn't count towards a 1099. So we exclude these transaction types here. Can then review the individual spend, individual transactions that are included in this calculation, make sure that we're only including the right things. From here, we can reach out to our client, request W-9 information for this vendor, request their email if they don't have it. So we can just reach out to the vendor on their behalf. And so once I have the vendor's email, can reach out to them directly, can CC my client, add a little bit of credibility to that message, but they'll see this coming from your company email. So it's going to look legitimate. And then it's going to send a vendor a link in that email. So when they click the link, they'll be taken right here, where it's going to have your branding, just like the portal. So it's going to feel like an extension of your firm versus like a third-party tool. Vendor can upload their W-9, or if they don't have it, they can fill it out. And so they can create a W-9 here, select their tax classification, fill out this information, can do it on their computer, do it on their phone, take like 20 or 30 seconds, e-sign this, submit. All the information gets saved right here, bundled into a PDF, which can then be uploaded to QuickBooks. All the information they filled out can be populated on that vendor in QBO, and we'll save a copy there as well. To file these, we can export natively to Track and Tax 1099 with a click of a button. So just send all that information there.
I really like the thought of having the 1099 process be part of the monthly close, because in many cases, it's a big chaos thing at the end of the year, but you might not have worked with a vendor since last February. You don't know if those transactions are valid anymore, but if you're reviewing it when you're reviewing all the other transactions, it's a good process or habit. Makes a lot of sense.
Yep. Yeah. And then to close out the month, we will review the client's financials. So do like a last quality control of their finances. So here we'll go through a profit and loss for the past 3 months. Looks pretty similar to QuickBooks. Big differences to call out. We do a variance analysis. We highlight how this current month changed from the monthly average. Looks like I don't have some data populating here, so maybe go back to September's close. So as you see here, we can toggle between different closes. Things that are in progress, completed, can go back and review those. So here I'm going back to September's close to review these financial statements. So yeah, it gives us a little better idea. We'll highlight variance in dollar and percentage terms. Red for negative change. So, income went down, that's negative. Merchant fees went down, that's actually positive. So we highlight that in green. And then we can drill into each of these accounts to see the vendor spend broken up nicely, variance by vendor, and then can drill in at the transaction level. So if we do need to make any changes from here, can do that same batch updating, ask questions to my client, ask questions to my team, communicate about these things internally, maybe before we bug the client. So yeah, really helpful for ensuring we're sending the client accurate financial information, which we can create here. So we can generate a custom reporting package for the client that's branded to their firm, highlight a summary. So key drivers of their business, how they did this month versus last month, year to date. So do some comparisons here. And we can also track KPIs. So we can pull in things from QuickBooks, items from their balance sheet, their P&L, and we can also create KPIs. So Keeper has its own metrics builder where we can create formulas like you would in Excel. And the variables in that formula can be items from their balance sheet, their P&L. So sky's the limit with those. Can create all sorts of KPIs that we include here on the summary and visualize.
Making my client use two tools, like one tool for the communication and the fixing the transactions, another tool to view the reports. They'll just get, I'm assuming, that same magic link.
Yeah, exactly. So when we're ready to send them this reporting package, we'll add it to their portal. This will notify the client and only the contacts at your client's firm that have access to financials. So, maybe the CEO is going to be able to see this, but the interns not going to be able to see company financials. So we'll email those people that do have access with a link, and they'll see that report added right here to their dashboard. They'll be able to access all of their previous financials from one place. So yeah, today we've looked at one client, but we probably are managing multiple. So Keeper helps also from like a practice management, be able to view all of our clients from one dashboard. So this is all of our
Andy.
clients that we're managing. Yeah.
Question on the KPIs. Can I do non-financial metrics?
Yeah. So for the metrics, it's going to look pretty similar to Excel. So we can reference items from P&L, balance sheet. We can create other sheets like in Excel. We can pull in data to create formulas like KPIs. So we can pull in things from their profit and loss. I can pull in income.
Like for example, I want to track headcount. Can I create a row and update that every period for headcount?
Yeah, you got it. So I created a formula here that's employee productivity. So I'm referencing this row that I created, number of employees.
I see. There it is.
And then, so I divided, income from my P&L divided by number of employees. So can reference data from different sheets, can be non-financial data that's not tracked in QuickBooks. So yeah, sky's the limit with those KPIs.
All right, so the books are closed. What else does Keeper do? I know you got. We have some questions about time tracking. I know you guys have added receipts now. I think we caught the reports. So I don't know, whichever direction you want to go next. We also have a bunch of questions we started to stack up, so we want to make sure we leave time for those too.
Oh, sure. Yeah, well, this from like a 30,000 foot view of the firm, really helpful to be able to see where each of my clients sit in the month-end close. So this is a list of all of my clients. I can then see different details about my clients to the right. So this is showing any open communication amongst my team. I can see which team members are working on this client, the close, due date, the status. I can see updates across all of the client portals. I can respond to my clients, take action on things that they've followed up with on. So it can be like proactive with that communication, track vendor requests for W-9s, and then I can also track the progress on each part of the month-end close. And so I can not only see like how many pre-close items have I completed for this client, but I can also see across the practice how many items I've completed for pre-close, how many accounts I've reconciled of the 62 that need to get done each month. This is my way to kind of keep tabs across the firm.
This is a question regarding many firms now will have a set of clients. They put on a 5-day close, a 10-day close, a 20-day close, and they charge them different rates. Is that something I'm assuming I'd manage that by the due date on a view like this?
Yeah, so we have some like pre-built fields for this dashboard. You can add your own fields. So if you did want to add a field for like closing frequency, we could add a column to this dashboard and then create, a different view that's going to highlight, these are all my 5-day closes, 10-day closes, and can also add a field for like rates. So we know like what to charge each of those clients.
Thinking time-wise, we should maybe jump into some of these questions.
Let's do it.
So somebody asked specifically about reviewing the time tracking feature, about having a pause timer feature versus just start and stop. So that way you can start it multiple times and stop it as needed when switching from client to client. Can you speak to your time tracking?
Yeah, so we have a time tracking tool. You'll see it on every page in Keeper. I have a feature turned off because it gets kind of annoying during demonstrations, but it'll alert you like, hey, time to start your timer whenever you go to a different page so that you can track your work by client and also by work stream. And so work stream is like the different project or task we're doing. So we can log our time against the right thing. In terms of like stopping and starting versus like pausing, I think it's just like a stop or a start. If we need to start one back up again, we'll just start a new timer and it's going to prompt us to whenever we switch to a different page. But yeah, all of our timers get logged here. So this is kind of our big dashboard. We can break these down by client. So we can see like all of the times across each of our clients. can filter for the different work streams, whether it's billable time for specific date ranges. Same thing for employees. And this can also help us manage capacity, so we can set budgets for clients, budgets for employees, and kind of see who's coming in under or over budget, so that we can more effectively allocate team resources to kind of fill the gaps.
We have two questions that came in that are somewhat related. It sounds like it has to do with client permissions or who the contacts are at the client. So one of the questions is, and I'll show them both and you can answer, can the client have more than one contact respond to the questions and requests? And the related question is, somebody said they have a client with 3 locations and 3 different managers. Can they target who gets the message? Because obviously maybe location A, you want that manager answering questions about transactions at that location.
Yep. So we can make questions assignable so that we're sending things to a specific team member. So that way, when that team member logs into Keeper, they're just seeing their list of questions.
Makes sense. Another W-9 question came in. Can Keeper help me find cases where my clients use the same vendors and I have a vendor W-9 under one client but not the other?
Yeah, it's a good question. They might get caught in this duplicate vendors report. So this is going to catch vendors with very similar names, like Loom and Zooms. This is not a duplicate. Can just like exclude this from this report. But maybe I want to consolidate these just under Amazon. This might help catch some of those duplicate vendors, and then we can look in QuickBooks to see if we already have a W-9 for them.
Yeah, I think this question also, if I feel like I'm reading it correctly, is I have 10 clients. One of them got the W-9 for that vendor. The other 8 clients or 9 clients has the exact same vendor. They just haven't collected the W-9. It's a way to surface that W-9 and then maybe pull it over.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I don't think we can search for vendors across clients.
Okay.
That's a good question, though.
Somebody asked a really high-level question. Do you replace Carbon? So could you speak about where you fit in the market with the other apps and workflow apps that are there?
It's a good question. I mean, I think there's some things that Keeper does that's novel, like the integration to the ledger. So all of these reports in this section, the W-9 collection tool. But we are releasing some things that are going to bring us more parity with some of the features that Carbon has. So we're releasing an email triaging tool here in the coming months. So you'll be able to manage your inbox from Keeper, be able to triage tasks from those emails, filter all of the messages by client. When you go into each client, you'll be able to see all of the back and forth from different team members to that client specifically. But yeah, I mean, Keeper's right now, it's really month-end close centric from a practice management solution, but we are kind of like the long-term vision for Keeper is to broaden to be like a holistic practice manager, or not only supporting bookkeeping month-end close, but also like tax workflows. So that's coming in the very near future.
So,
all right. So let's get to the big question, which is price. How much does all of this cost? If I have, I don't know, a dozen clients, what am I going to be paying?
Yeah, so the way the pricing works, it's based on how many clients we have connected to QuickBooks or to Xero. So for each client that's connected, you see here we can manage both connected and unconnected. For each client that's connected, it's either $8 or $10 per client per month. And so the differences between those tools is the branding, so just giving that professional look and feel to the client portal, connecting to your email address so when you're messaging clients to see it coming from you. And then the big one is that W-9 request tool. and also the ability to text clients and use the time tracking tool. What separates the $10 version versus the $8 version. Yeah, only the clients that are connected are billable.
So $8 or $10 per client per month, no platform fee, no per user fees. I just pay per client.
Yeah, so unlimited users can add as many team members, contractors, whomever as you want, and it's not going to impact the billing. Unlimited file storage. It's just based on per client per month.
And then receipts, that's an add-on, right?
Yeah, that's an add-on. So we have a new receipts tool that we've built so that clients can proactively send us receipts to a company branded email address, a phone number that's set up just for this client. They can also drag and drop receipts on their client portal in their browser. We also have a mobile app so people can use their phone to send us receipts from pictures they've taken, or just click a button, snap a picture. All of those receipts will get organized here. Keeper's OCR is going to scan the document, assign vendors, item numbers, dates. We'll categorize things based on how we've, categorized certain vendors in the past. And then what's novel about Keeper is we can not only post new entries to the ledger, but we can also match receipts to existing transactions in the ledger. So rather than creating duplicates that we then have to match from the bank feed, we can just match to an existing transaction here.
And again, you're eliminating another tool you have to go tell your client to use, because now.
Yeah, sorry, David, didn't mean to cut you off there. Andy, you mentioned a phone number. So my clients, they can text a receipt to a phone number?
Sure can. Yep. And it's going to be one number that's just assigned to that client.
That's Blake's dream. Blake's been talking about how clients probably only want to interact through text.
Well, I'm just thinking it's a lot easier to take a picture with my phone and then text it than to figure out how to email it to some address. Yeah. I could save the phone in my phone number in my contacts and just text those receipts.
Yeah.
I like that.
Might have forgotten to mention, Blake, but you can also message clients via text. So some people more receptive to texting. You can let them know, like, hey, got some new questions for you. Here's your link. So a client can click the link in the text, takes them in their browser, also takes them right to the mobile app, bypass the login to answer those questions. So
love that. Yeah. So many clients are on the go. They prioritize text. They don't look at their email. So we want to meet them where they're at.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. Did we do this question from Amy, David?
I think we still have two more small ones. Yeah.
So what is the difference between a client that is connected versus a client that is unconnected?
Yeah, great question. So unconnected clients, we're still able to do all the task project management. So can still manage the non-closing as well as our closing process. Client will still have a client portal, so we can send them those questions, automated reminders on things that they haven't responded to. They can send us documents, but we won't be able to do the review, and we won't be able to create that custom reporting package because we're not connecting to their ledger. But still a lot of value you can get out of these unconnected clients, and they're 100% free. So kind of playing with house money. And then when you're, if they're a desktop client, they're on some ERP that we don't support. If they ever do move to QuickBooks or Xero, you'll be able to connect to them with a click of a button. So.
And so if somebody wants to get this, what's the best route? So that if they want to get Keeper.
So I think we're going to send out a PowerPoint doc that just gives some information about signing up and getting started. But yeah, Keeper.app is our website. You can schedule a time to chat with someone like me to give you kind of the full tour and get you set up with an onboarding specialist. So we have a team here at Keeper that's going to help you get started with your account. That way you're working with an expert who's going to help save a lot of time on the setup. So that's kind of our recommended. A lot of have a much higher success rate than just like kind of jumping in without a lot of guidance. So that's kind of what our recommendation is there.
Fantastic. Andy, thanks so much for joining us and for showing us Keeper. Thank you to everyone who joined us live today. Hope to see you on a future Earmark Expo. Stay tuned for a brief message about how to earn CPE for joining us live or watching the recording. David, Andy, I'll see you around. Bye, everyone. Today's event has ended. To earn CPE, go to earmark.app or scan the QR code on the screen. Then log in or create your free account. Search for the course by tapping on the magnifying glass icon on the home screen and then entering the name of this event. It takes a few days to make the course, so if you're attending this event live, keep an eye out for an email letting you know when the course is available. Pass the quiz to earn your CPE, then tap the button to email yourself a certificate. Stay tuned for more events from Earmark. Thanks for joining us, and we hope to see you again soon.